Welcome live Muslim Street. We're here live in Chicago, and in the city, this is Brother Rahman. We are live from the Center in Chicago, Illinois, the Muslim Street. You can find us at www.themuslimstreet.com and across all social media, with the exception of X. X had the audacity to suspend the Muslim Street page because we retweeted a article, or actually a post from Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks, but they didn't suspend her. So later for that, we will continue our ground game as we get this message out. Today's program is packed. We're here live with the audience. We're going to have some Q&A coming from the audience as we go along in the program. But we're joined by Art Mobley, founding member of the National Association of Black Journalists, and also a member of the Darfur 23. Also, we have a contributor to the Muslim Street, Sheikh Mohammed Sharif. Everybody raved about you last week, and we're looking forward to hearing more. He's all the way in from Mali and the Sankora Institute. And we have a scholar, Sheikh Daoud Abdullah. He's also the author of Islam, Race, and Rebellion in the Americas. Please get that piece. One of the things that I've noticed, and I've talked with colleagues, that our people aren't reading anymore. We think that we can just click on a quote off of Google or something, and then it's going to make us smarter. Nothing will replace reading books, periodicals. This is where the scholars live. So pick up Sheikh Daoud's piece, Islam, Race, and Rebellion in the Americas, and you'll be smarter for it. We have our host here today. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself.
Thank you, Malik. My name is Abdurrahman Al-Ghoude, community member in Chicago area, and we are very pleased to welcome the Muslim Street to Chicago, and we have the Muslim community audience, and I think this is maybe your first live broadcast.
First live broadcast. I didn't bring the T-shirts, but I promise next time I'll have the T-shirts and for everybody. So we're tackling a very important and timely subject. The title of this podcast, Pan-Africanism and the support of the Palestinian liberation movement. One of the things that we have to be cognizant of is the historical relationship between the Black liberation struggle, be it here or on the African continent, and the Pan-Arab struggle vis-a-vis the Palestinian oppression. It has always been the case. It has been the case since Du Bois and Padmore at the 5th Pan-African Conference. They raised this issue in London. It's been the case since the 1960s with Malcolm X, who stood on the front line of calling out the Zionists as a construct of white supremacy. They only stand and exist because of the construct of white supremacy. Once we destroy at the very bottom white supremacy, you will see the Zionist empire and their whole construct fall apart. It just works that way, and that's exactly what Malcolm talked about. Malcolm was opposed by the Anti-Defamation League of the B'nai B'rith. Nelson Perlmutter hated Malcolm. All right. And he hated him for a reason, because Malcolm was pulling back the veil of what really controls the West. And now we see it openly today. You got a president who sits in the United States. You got a Congress that's 90% controlled by the Zionists. The Congressional Black Caucus, which rose as an independent body to speak for the oppression of Black people and others, 95% of them controlled by the Zionist lobby. We saw just here in Chicago, we were able to, the Palestinian organizations and the Palestinian community was able to host on Thursday night Cori Bush, who was running for Congresswoman out of St. Louis, who was unseated a few years ago by Uncle Tom by the name of Wesley Bell. He's Uncle Tom because he took Zionist money. He took Zionist money to the tune of $15 to $20 million, and they're going to throw it at him again. But we're going to support her. because a win in St. Louis in Missouri on August the 4th means the defeat of Zionism. And wherever we can defeat them, we have to defeat them. So a little bit before I turn this over to Sheikh Mohammed Sharif in Mali, I just want to talk about where the Muslim Street is and the Darfur 23 as organizational fronts for this whole issue of intertwining Pan-Africanism, the Palestinian struggle, and Pan-Arabism. And the Pan-Arab struggle. Back in the on the exit from colonialism in the 1950s and 1960s, particularly 1960, which is known as the Year of Africa, because 2/3 of Africa got their liberation. We saw two blocks emerge. We saw the Casablanca bloc, led by Mohammed V, by Kwame Ture, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Sekou Touré of Guinea, King Idris of Libya, and of course Gamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt, as they called for a United States of Africa, a true Pan-African and true Pan-Arab relationship to create a continental Africa. They were defeated, at least in theory, by the Monrovian group, who said, we need to have better relationships with our former colonial powers, and particularly the French. They supported the French against the Algerian liberation movement, and they eventually ended up winning, and puts us in the situation we are in today on this question of Pan-Africanism and Pan-Arabism coming together, infusing to defeat white supremacy. This is where it's going to happen at. So last thing I'll say before I turn it over to Sheikh Mohammed Sharif is that in 1961, Mohammed V of Morocco called the conference in Casablanca to revive this United States of Africa and this vision. It was defeated then. He died later. And we intend to go back to Casablanca, the Muslim Street, the Darfur 23, and others to enhance and resurrect the revolutionary spirit that was defeated in 1961. So, Sheikh Mohammed, I think I set that up pretty good, and I'll let you take it from here. Get that feedback. Yeah, turn it off.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa sallam ala Sayyid Saleen wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Would like to say that I first met Dr. Dawood Abdallah in Sudan in the mid-80s when he was doing his PhD there at the University of Khartoum. And it was then that I first became acquainted with his stellar along the same line of Walter Rodney, because at that time he had written one of the best researches that I had read after your fellow student Ahmed Clyde Winters. He wrote an excellent paper on the Bahian slave revolt. It was a small paper, but it was one of the best ones that I had read in the 1980s. And so that was the beginning of my introduction to the scholarship of Dr. Dawood. And then, of course, later on, he became an active supporter and a member of Palestinian struggle, which he can explain more about it. And I've always, when there was a program in London on TV, an Arabic program discussed the Palestinian struggle. Dr. Dawood was the only non-Palestinian, non-African who was African from the diaspora who participated in those discussions, and the discussions were all in Arabic. So he's an Arabist as well, and so he's been a part of the struggle for a long time. And when you told me about the program of Pan-Africanism and the Palestinian struggle, the first person I thought of have to bring him aboard is Dr. He's written an excellent book which you should get. The book is called Islam, Race, and Rebellion in the Americas, Transatlantic Echoes of the West African Jihads by Dr. Dawood Abdallah. It's an excellent work with seminal documents from West Africa as well as from the Caribbean, and I highly suggest you all show. The reason being because the key thing about this book is that it shows the introduction and of this African Islamic civilization into the Western Hemisphere, that we were part of the formation of nation states in the Western Hemisphere, and we should be considered, as international law declares, a part of those national minorities that constitute have the rights for self-determination in the Western Hemisphere, because we played a role in the development of nation states. Even our slave revolts played a role in the formation of nation states in the Western Hemisphere, and Dr. Dawood points that out in his book. And without any further ado, I think that's the best I can say about our brother, Dr. Abdullah, inshallah.
Yeah, Brother Dawood. Brother Dawood, please unmute your mic.
Yeah, unmute your mic.
Brother Dawood, please unmute your mic until he gets started. Brother Art, Mobley at Dot 423. Art, you want to chime in on the discussion?
Yeah, absolutely. We need to be particularly aware of something's going on in the background. And good morning, good day to everybody around the world listening to this program, and welcome again to the Muslim Street. There is a proposal floating through the U.S. Congress that will probably be passed next week. And I kind of surmise that a lot of us are not on top of it. It's a proposal, an initiative that will allow Israel full access and control over the $1.4 trillion U.S. defense budget. It's sneaking it through Congress. They're sneaking it under the wire through Congress, under the carpet. And it's called Section 219. It's expected to pass next week on an independent vote in Congress. Now, the United States Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative is what it's called. It is a proposal it proposes bilateral defense arrangement that includes like I said, Section 219 in the House, 1217 in the Senate. And this is for people who are in our listening audience who might be able to affect some difference in Congress. But the National Defense Authorization Act is what is being passed. This provision is embedded in that bill, but it's not going to be voted on independently, but it will allow the state of Israel to have complete control, co-production of supply chain integration with the U.S. military. So the U.S. military is integrating the IDF into its system at the highest level. And this is why the Israelis are saying, well, we're not going to take any more money from you on that $3-4 billion that you send us every year, because actually we're going to have control of $1.4 trillion. We are not going to control the U.S. budget entirely. This will wreak mayhem. To me, it represents a coup d'etat of the U.S. with Israel. So just wanted to make sure that we got that on the table as well as we move forward. Did the brother get his microphone unmuted?
Yeah, Brother Dawood. Brother Abdurrahman, can you address a little bit about this issue of the militarization of the IDF intertwined with the United States with this bill?
Yeah, what Art pointed out is very critical point in the history now, that the basically have a connection to the U.S. military where they can control
We lost Brother Rahman.
I like what he said. It's like almost like a coup d'etat, because they're going to be controlling the military of the United States with this integration.
Yes, it is actually something that we need to really be aware of, but more importantly, we need to rally and fight against this in every sector of the U.S. If we succeed and we're able to get it parceled out so that the Congress can take a separate vote. Maybe they will vote it down. Maybe they will not go along with this. Certainly, they're going to get a lot of heat from their constituents in their home districts, because I can't see anyone in the U.S. who would like to see the Israeli military integrated into the U.S. defense structure and posture, and that be allowed to stand. So I doubt very seriously if it will stand longer than a short time. But just the fact that it's being proposed and just the fact that it's there is absolutely, I think, devastating for those in the U.S. who believe in autonomy and believe in their own ability, the ability for the U.S. to actually control its own military and its own military budgets that will be completely out of control if this provision passes. So, did we get the mic restored?
Yes, we have our scholars on Islam, race, and rebellion in Americas. Dawood Abdallah. Dawood, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, here we go.
can hear you.
And just for some house cleaning, after Dawood presents, then we're going to take a Q&A from the audience. You asked me lined up here, and we're going to make sure that this is an integrated session. So, Dawood.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome to this program today. And I want to thank the organizers, Brother Malik and Sheikh Mohammed, for giving me the opportunity to be with you. I wanted to say a few words about the Pan-African movement and the liberation of Palestine as it was advertised. And I thought it was inevitable that at some point in the history of the Pan-Africanist movement, that Palestine would be incorporated into its efforts. The truth is, the Zionists came to the party, the colonization party, very late, after the Berlin Conference in 1884. And they came pretty much later, and that is the reason why they had not played, or they were not as visible as the other anti-colonialist movements that took off, in the 40s as well as the 50s. However, it is clear that after the creation of the state of Palestine and the state of Israel, the creation of Israel in 1948, then the linkage between the Zionist colonialist project and the anti-colonial project in Africa as a whole became very clear. Hence the reason when Sheikh Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz visited Gaza in 1964, it was as a result of his participation in the Bandung Conference in 1955, where the launch of the acceleration, as it were, of the decolonization process took place. So Malcolm went to Gaza. He spent 2 days there and met with officials in Khan Yunis, and then back in Cairo, he had meetings with the newly formed PLO. That was important in the sense that he later wrote, or soon after that, he wrote an article in the Egyptian Gazette about Zionism, and he was very critical about it. He saw it for what it was, as a colonial project. Let's remember that when Herzl and his group tried to launch this international movement, they wanted to find a colonial sponsor for the project. They turned to the Germans. The Germans didn't agree. And it was the British who agreed to support this project. So having said that, in 1964, Malcolm, wrote this very enlightening and incisive critique of Zionism as a racist colonial project. And it was inevitable, in my view, that Zionism became equated with apartheid in the discourse of the United Nations. And there was this resolution which classified Zionism as a racist form of discrimination against non-white people. However, as we know, after the demise of the Soviet Union, this resolution was removed from the annals of the United Nations because, of course, the United States became the sole power, as it were, globally. So Zionism was no longer seen as a form of racism officially, but in practice, it remained as such. And it was very encouraging and important that Nelson Mandela Madibo in 1997, in that famous speech in Pretoria, when he said that the liberation of South Africa will not be complete, our freedom will be incomplete as long as the Palestinian people remain, as long as the Palestinian people are not free. So here we see this evolution and the linkage between Palestinian liberation and that of the growth of the Pan-Africanist movement. I should say at this point that the Zionist state, as it were, began to lobby the first of all the Organization of African Unity, and now its successor, the African Union, for membership as an observer member of the African Union. And this was opposed very strongly by South Africa in particular. In particular, South Africa stood up against it, and hence the reason today Israel has been denied, despite its various efforts and subterfuge, as it were, to become a member, an observer member of the African Union, has been foiled, particularly by South Africa. And it was not a coincidence that South Africa would be the country to take the issue of Gaza to the International Court of Justice. In fact, they've been carrying this legacy of Mandela and the responsibility that he has charged them with to advocate and to continue being in the forefront of the struggle for Palestinian liberation. So the question of genocide in Gaza was taken up by South Africa first and foremost, even before all the Arab countries didn't think of doing it, or couldn't, if we may say, because of their connection with the United States and Israel. It was South Africa who took the lead, and I think this is where we are today. This is I dare say the seminal point at which both the Pan-Africanist movement and the movement for liberation of Palestine, they do converge, and they have taken a new thrust, as it were, toward the acquirement or the achievement of Palestinian rights. I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that dissertation on that connection of Pan-Africanism and the liberation of Palestine. So at this point, we're almost halfway through the hour. We'd like to take some questions from the live audience. I'll let Abdurrahman kind of logistically work through that.
I want to thank Brother Dahoud Abdullah for bringing up those historical points between the relationship between South Africa and the anti-apartheid movement and the Palestinian struggle. When Nelson Mandela was imprisoned, and one of his major supporters was the Palestinian people and Yasser Arafat. In fact, in the 70s, the PLO trained African National Congress fighters in the struggle against apartheid. And even when he was interviewed by Ted Koppel about this issue, he stood firm his position in solidarity with the Palestinians. We would like to take some questions from the audience. If someone can come up here for a question. Matt, if you have a question or somebody, Rafiq.
Come forward and then also speak right into the mic and right into the laptop, right into the camera. Just step back a little bit, you'll be able to see it. There you go, perfect.
First, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
First, I thank you for coming
Wa
here.
alaikum assalam.
Those speakers to talk about the issues of Palestine and Palestine and the African American movement. My question is going to come back here, just like the United States, where I believe, that's my personal analysis of the situation going on here, and I believe that Mr. Trump, that I think as long as he's going to be in this
Unmute your laptop.
obviously there could be a civil war in this country because of the elections, because this Trump is going to try to cancel the elections, and then there will be already he has an army, it's called ICE, they can do whatever it is, and he probably some weakness would be from the military. But the problem is that those people, of course, these racists, they're gonna take who's gonna take on, they're gonna start taking on the minorities, which is like African Americans, the Muslims in this here. The Muslims are the weakest link, of course, that they can be attacked easily, and that's I think where maybe there has to be some kind of strengthening this issue together, where because we got to be all attacked, but first they're going to start with the Muslims. It's easier to target for them, and they're going to start with the with the African Americans and other minorities in this. How do you see it coming up this in the future?
Okay, so I don't know if anyone was able to catch the full part of his question. Question. Okay, so you got it. Sheikh Muhammad, would you like to address that?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things I did hear him say, he mentioned something about an impending civil war that may emerge in the United States. Did he mention that? Did he say that?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I think one way to look at it, because first, if you look at the history of the United States, the Africans have to reclaim the American Revolution. The American Revolution was not, the real American Revolution was not that of 13 colonies, Anglo-American landed wealthy slavers. The American Revolution began with the first indigenous African, the enslaved African revolts that took place in the United States. That's when the revolution began. So if a civil war emerges in the United States, I think the best way to look at that is not to look at it as the Civil War, but just look at it as the completion of the American Revolution. And I think that, and we have to reclaim it. We have to reclaim it ourselves and not make it as though it's a civil war, or it's literally the revolution that was incomplete, that had become aborted, as Thomas Paine said. Thomas Paine, who was the ideologue of the American Revolution, he said that if the enslavement of Africans continue with the formation of these unions, then the American Revolution would have been aborted. And so it was aborted. And so therefore the revolution is not complete, and it won't be complete until all the national minorities within the United States and the African Muslims and other Africans in America attain their complete freedom. And I think we shouldn't see it as a civil war, but we should see it as a continuation of the American Revolution. No.
Okay, great. We're going to take additional questions from the audience. Who's next? Please step forward.
And Malik, until we get a question up there at the table, I just wanted to add in that the Pan-African movement and its importance to be able to, as Brother Sheikh said, stratify this response to not only what is going on in the US, but what is going on internationally, what's going on in Iran, what's going on with the UAE, and what is going on in Sudan, where they're carrying out major, massive assaults against African people, entangled, but just below this discussion and the attention that the Iranian war is getting. So Pan-Africanism and Pan-Arabism needs to combine very quickly, very thoroughly, so that we can address this and defeat it. We can do this together. We're halfway there. We just need to connect the rest of these dots, if you will. There's a question, I guess.
Yeah. State your name, brother, and step back just a bit. Step back just a bit, just for logistic purposes.
My name is Ghassan Badout. I'm the founder and director of Nahda Center. Welcome everybody at Nahda Center. My question is, and I agree with brother Art, we have to take this to a next level, to a global level. It's no more just the genocide in Gaza limited, and the Israeli IDF, the military, what they're doing. They are involved all over the place, especially also in Africa. So we need to make these connections. And the way we topple the South African white racism regime, we should put some kind of equation together that when we talk about what's happening in the United States, what's happening with the IDF, to connect it all over the world. Because I think what's going on with the United States right now is going down. They are fighting everybody, even the European. That's one question. The other one regarding the Court of Justice, when they are considered Israel as a genocide, where are we at with this? Is there any impact, anything coming up? Thank you.
Okay, who would like to take that? I think one issue before I turn that over to the rest of the panel, he mentioned some of the tactics that were used to bring down apartheid in South Africa. One of them was anti-divestment movement, which the Zionist entity in the United States, in the world, understood that historically, and they attacked that first. So literally, there's 38 states and counting in the United States that have quote unquote anti-BDS vis-a-vis Israel movements that have been signed into law, which means that you can't even get a contract unless you support Israel. Florida, Texas, even up in the democratically ran Illinois, where we sit, has this law in place. And so they understood as enemies. They looked at history and said, this worked as a tactic in bringing down apartheid in South Africa. Oh, by the way, which Israel supported along with the United States. It was Israel who built the nuclear weaponry for the South African apartheid government right out of Dimona, Israel. So they have a history of white supremacy and supporting each other. So how do we get around this attack on a particular tactic that was successful in bringing down apartheid South Africa, which the Palestinian liberation movement here was attempting to use, and it was diverted by the enemy?
Just a couple of things we need to do. Number one is we need to be aware of this initiative that Israel is trying to push through the U.S. Congress, which will effectively merge the CIA and the Mossad officially in this country. If you can imagine what that would result in. No other states in the world are merged with the U.S. Apparatus and the Pentagon and these military constructs. No other nation in the world, not even any of the NATO countries, are merged in the same way that this proposal next week that will be voted on proposes Israel be integrated into the U.S. Department of State and the entire structure. But a merger between the CIA and the Mossad is now officially on the horizon. Africa needs to understand. And this broadcast is going out to a lot of Africa through the Afrique Media Network, and it doesn't show up in our numbers in terms of those listeners, but those are millions of listeners who are tapped in through Afrique Media, and I'm also affiliated with that network. So I'm one of the administrators, and so I know that that is also going up. But I did want to share that. The last point I'll make is that the UAE is the United African Enemies, I call them. I don't know what they want to call themselves, but the UAE is being funded by Israel, by the U.S., to in turn fund those elements in the Sudan who are right now at this moment, wreaking the havoc that they're wreaking on the Sudanese people. And they're doing that, again, with U.S. taxpayer dollars through proxy and et cetera. So this is not going to be defeated. We're not going to be able to do this unless we have a good consensus in Africa. The Sahel states are a good start, but we need to have a good, strong consensus among African states that we are not, as an African people, as a Pan-African people, going to stand by and allow this kind of exploitation continue, even our Arab brothers.
Yeah. So there's a question coming in, and also I want to pose this to anybody in the audience, but I like for Abdurrahman to address this, and that is the question of in-game solution for Palestine and the Palestinians. I've been asked this question throughout the years in my connection as a Pan-Africanist to the Palestinian liberation struggle. One state, two-state solution, that kind of thing. My answer has always been, the Palestinian people have a right to self-determination. They will figure that out. Okay, they should be the ones who determine what their liberation looks like. So I want to address this to the audience, those of you who are Palestinians, as well as Abdurrahman, to kind of take control of that. And if we can have at the end of that, Sheikh Dawood, Abdullah, if you could address this whole issue of, you've seen the white liberals over here. There's the Bernie Sanders fake faux left crowd. Oh yeah, two-state solution. Oh, but this kind of thing. The Palestinians should decide their own self-determination.
Yes, thank you, Malik. First of all, in the local level, you mentioned that BDS shutting down the BDS movement in 38 states. We have a representative for our community in the state legislature, Abdel Nasser Rashid. He's putting together a repeal of that. So he has maybe 30 to 40 state legislators
in
on
Illinois,
board. Yes, but it's still not enough. But it's grown significantly in the last year with the atrocities that are happening in Gaza, and the feelings have been changing on Israel, and now he is getting more traction on repealing that bogus law that they have in the state of Illinois and they have in other states. But hopefully, if we can get that repealed in Illinois, it'll set a precedent to get it repealed in other states. As far as the state of Palestine, it's pretty much agreed. We take the same position that we should be able to determine how it will look like, whether it's a one state or two state. Or whatever the realities are going to be at the time. That's for our decision to make as Palestinians. And if anyone has, Abu Bakr has a comment or a question on that point.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abu Bakr Kort. I'm the Public Relations Director of Another Center here in Chicago. Thanks for joining us. I have two simple questions. The first one, I would like to start with what Mr. Balou just said. How could we think of taking this historical collaboration between Palestine and the African movements to the next level? How can African and Palestinian communities in the United States work together on issues of justice and civil rights? This is my first question. My second question is, it could be like an academic question. How have African liberation movements historically connected with the Palestinian struggle? Thank you.
Yeah. Dawood?
Nah. Well, one of the things first of all, let me express my concurrence with the view expressed by Malik, that it is up to the Palestinian people to determine the shape and form of the future state after liberation. But let's go back a bit in history. During the decolonization process, all the United Nations resolutions on decolonization in Africa included Palestine in them. Whenever we look at these resolutions, whether it's in Mozambique or Angola or Namibia, Palestine was at the center of it, and resolutions which speak for the right to self-determination by any means necessary, etc. Palestine was there. Today, what we have is that all of these states achieved their independence, at least in theory, but Palestine is the only one, that was left out of it, and we have to address this now. Now, in the case of South Africa, America supported the apartheid regime right to the end. America and Britain supported the apartheid regime until it was no longer tenable to do so. You see, and we do not expect that America would willingly withdraw its support for the Zionist state at this point. It is through international action, through international solidarity movements, that the support for Palestine will override what America and its allies in the West are doing today. And this was the importance of Malcolm's efforts. He recognized that the right of Afro-Americans would not be achieved until it was linked into a global struggle. You see, and so the rights of the Palestinian people and the recognition of their self-determination will have to come within a broad international effort. And so, as was mentioned earlier, the issue of boycott, of divestment, and sanctions are important, just as it was applied to apartheid South Africa, isolating that racist state until it was no longer tenable to support them. We should take. Let me just, in passing, recall, the efforts of Reverend Andrew Young in the 1970s, when he met with the PLO in the United States. He lost his job. He lost his job as ambassador to the UN. So it's not easy for the African community in the United States to support Palestine on their own. They would have to, reach out to their brothers in Latin America, in the Caribbean, and elsewhere where colonialism existed in the past.
Right.
Go ahead.
No.
You bring up a good point where
yes.
you mentioned Andrew Young losing his job, and then in recent history, Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush losing their seats in Congress. But we are trying to reconnect and resupport these people so they can make a comeback and in solidarity with them. And I know Sheikh Mohammed Sharif, you are on the ground in Africa, and
Yes, sir.
following up with Brother Dawood's point about how pressure from the global community and the global South can affect this issue. If you have any thoughts on that.
Well, from the very beginning, when you talk about actually from 1960 all the way up into the present, there's been active support and support of the Palestinian struggle. Between 1960 and 1972, the nations such as Egypt, Algeria, Libya, Sudan, Morocco, Mali, Tunisia consistently challenged and push forward the ideas, resolutions on behalf and support of the Palestinian people. And then again, from 1973 to 1980s, the OAU passed resolutions. Nearly every single independent Black African nation severed diplomatic relationships with Israel, again showing that there was this consistent support from the African nations for the Palestinian people. In the modern era, the emergence of the African Union in the 1990s, again, core solidarities such as South Africa, Algeria, Namibia, Zambia, Mali continued to fiercely give vocal support for the Palestinians, frequently leading initiatives within the UN General Assembly and the International Court of Justice to push for the rights of nationhood for the Palestinian people. And that has been the case. My country, Mali, from the very beginning, we were the first Black African nation, along with Ghana, to join what was known as the Casablanca Accord, which supported the rights of Palestinians. And to this day, our country remains in the same position. At no point did Mali, even when we were under, I would say, collaborative military rulers, still, even in that period, Mali still maintained its support for the Palestinian struggle and its rights for self-determination. And that's been the case. That's really answering the question of our brother who asked the question. But one of the things I want to bring out, which I think is important that we haven't discussed, is that the three communities which are conflicting regarding this issue, around which the Palestinians exist and their right of existence, is that what is happening in Palestine is intimately connected to eschatological apocalyptic beliefs on all sides. The Zionists have created a false narrative about a return to their land. They themselves would have no DNA connection with the Banu Israel, yet they use this false meta-historical narrative to justify the usurpation of land. The Christian nationalists, white supremacist Christian nationalists, also in the 50s, they developed the same narrative also, the need for the Jews to return back to Palestine in order for the Messiah, Jesus, to return and for the rapture of the Christians to go into heaven. But also, we, the Muslims, we have a complete, there's not a single hadith collection which does not talk about the Alamatu Sa. And the Alamatu Sa, the signs of the end of time, revolve clearly around Palestine and Damascus and Sham. So the future of Palestine is connected to eschatological beliefs, and which brings in the idea that yes, divine intervention, not absent of our human struggle, what the things that we have to do through the United Nations, through legislation, through military struggle, to the rights of self-determination, but also the fact that yes, God is involved, because each of the groups are evoking God. The white Christian, white supremacist nationalists, the white supremacist Zionists, as well as the entire Muslim community. We're all evoking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regarding the events that are occurring in Palestine, and we're asking Allah ta'ala to help us. And I think that the future of Palestine, of what's going to happen in Palestine, is intimately involved and connected with the signs of the end of time, and we have to realize that now.
Okay, go ahead, bro.
Thank you, Sheikh Muhammad. We could take another question. Does one of the sisters have a question? And then Nael.
No, he's finished.
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you very much for coming in, Brother Al-Aziz, and your show. We don't have, or we lack right now, from personality like Malcolm X. We have a lot of leaders, but not one of them can collect everybody behind him. We also have a lack of, we have many organizations, but we don't have an organization that represents the rights of the Muslims around the world and do really active things to defend their rights. How can we get our resources together, our energy together, and unite? What's the way to do that right now? Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Art, you want to address that? The sister's question is a vacuum.
Yes, I heard her. Yeah, and appreciate that question. Yeah, we struggle in terms of our international breadth to try and to develop leadership, but also to find those leadership structures. I'm looking for the Sahel states and Mali and those areas that are liberated and have created a real, true liberation zone in the African continent to allow for leadership to come from that space. Leadership will always come out of a space of certainly where it has some security and some comfort to grow, but it is also born out of struggle. And we are about to go through a fit of struggle with what is going to occur in the next couple of weeks here in the United States behind this initiative and this attempted coup by the Israeli community. So it's going to give us a lot to respond to, and it is going to certainly heighten the awareness among the African communities in the West. But most importantly, it really has to catch fire and take hold in Africa as well, so that we have some capability to address this more certainly. Anyone else?
Yeah, we got another question.
Another thing that happens is whenever there is a leader, there's assassinations on those leaders, whether it's here in the United States with Malcolm X or abroad in Africa, where any leader who tries to show leadership in bringing together multiple countries and nations together in a cause gets assassinated. And there was threats recently on the lives of one of those presidents in Africa.
Another question.
My name is Nail Kharaja. Thanks for this event, bring together voices from different communities. My question is, what role can African American and African communities in your state play in building voter support for Palestinian rights? Thank you.
Can we state that question for them?
What can we do here in the United States with the African American community in solidarity with the Palestinian American community to advocate for Palestinian rights?
Yeah, I think we are seeing this play out live. There has to be a forcing of sides. This is clear. There has to be a flushing out of who is going to rise as the true voices, the true grassroots in this country on both sides of this issue, particularly on the side of Africans here in America. And a classic example of that would be the justice opposed of Congresswoman Cori Bush versus someone like the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries is loudly displayed that and proudly displayed that he is on the payroll of AIPAC and the Zionists, as so it is with the highest ranking black politician in the Senate, Cory Booker, who just married a Zionist. I don't know if y'all notice how I present things. I don't care. I don't have any friends on any side. I'm not looking for friends. I call it like I see it, right? And until we have this kind of truth of the consequences of selling out and call these people out who are selling out, there's no hope for them. We are literally witnessing a genocide in 4K, right? So I think that we see these two types of leadership rising up amongst Africans. Cori Bush, who has supported the Palestinian struggle from the very get-go when she hit Congress. She's rising up as a voice. There's other grassroots voices that have been mainstays. People like Omali Yeshitilla of Uhuru, who is again he's in St. Louis, used to be headquartered in St. Petersburg, Florida. There's others, so that we can count on. I think with panels like this, where we begin to strategize on the future of this Pan-African, Pan-Arab front. Then we will have solutions that will arise out of that. Art, your hand is up.
Yeah, I just have a question for Sheikh Mohammed. There in Mali, I would like to get from him what he sees as the development of the Sahel Alliance and their prospects for being a force for change in this regard. Sheikh Mohammed, can you hear us?
Yeah, a little static there as we come back to Sheikh Mohammed. We're going to do a final round. If we can bring Brother Dawood Abdullah in, kind of address Art's question about the Sahel.
No, I wanted to make another observation, not relating to the Sahel region. I leave this to Sheikh Mohammed. But I think there is a good opportunity in the United States to capitalize on what happened post-2023. We saw all the big marches on the campuses and the shutdowns on the streets, all the major cities, New York, California, Los Angeles, etc. I think that this is an opportunity that we should not miss. There is a groundswell of support on a grassroots level throughout the United States. Even within the Jewish community in the United States, there are changes taking place. Young Jews in America are turning their backs on Zionism, recognizing that the state of Israel is an apartheid expansionist state. And so those of us who work in this field must find a way to capitalize on this support, going forward, to ensure that we do not lose this momentum that was gained, in 2023. It's an opportunity, and somehow we have to think of a way to harness it.
Okay, great. Sheikh Mohammed.
And Sheikh Mohammed, can you tell us the countries for our audience of the Sahel?
Of course, they are the Republic of Mali, the Republic of Burkina Faso, and the Republic of Niger. Actually, technically, have become one nation, AES, which means the Alliance of the Sahel Alliance. We've just recently
breaking up.
Established a central and centralized, unified economics of the countries. Our armies have become, which kind of successfully had against Al Qaeda and ISIS and other groups in the area. We've successfully defeated them. In fact, they are basically under siege in Kidal. There was a defeat just recently in a small enclave near the borders of Algeria, and so the three nations, of course, are Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, and we're hoping for Chad to come in. We're hoping that Sudan will join us. We're hoping that Togo and Benin have just made a trade agreement with us because we need the bite of Benin.
It's breaking up.
A
little static from Sheikh Mohammed. What I'd like to do is, if we can take.
Yeah. Thank you for that update. Interesting.
One of the things, can you all hear me? One of the things I want to say before, because it seems like I keep cutting out here. When it comes to the section, yes, sir. Yeah, that's what I'm noticing. When it comes to the section 219, which is the National Defense Authorization Act, or the NDAA of the fiscal year of 2027. I don't believe that that constitutes the coup d'etat. I believe that the coup d'etat, from the perspective of Israel, occurred with the assassination of President Kennedy. President Kennedy was assassinated due to the right of Israel to establish the Dimona and gain nuclear weapons. That's when the actual coup d'etat occurred. This Section 219 is simply the formalization of that coup d'etat. In other words, we're witnessing the actual form, because the relationship between the United States and Israel has always been of that nature, because how many police forces and how many security forces get their training in Tel Aviv, have always gotten their training in Tel Aviv. Many of the policies right across the states, you cannot say anything bad about Israel. In fact, if you support any sanctioning against Israel, you would be sanctioned by the states of the United States. So that relationship, what we're witnessing now with Section 219, is simply the outward formalization of a relationship that has been ongoing since the assassination of President Kennedy. And I think strategically we have to kind of see it for what it is, rather than thinking that this 219 is something new. It's literally something, the formalization of an old, secretive, classified relationship between Israel and the United States. Israel simply has always been the vassal state responsible for executing America's foreign policy in the Middle East.
Thank you for that, Brother Dawood. So we're up on an hour here at the Muslim Street. You can find us at www.muslimstreet.com. I want to hear closing remarks from our scholar, Dawood Abdullah, Islam, Race, and Rebellion in the Americas. And then we'll close out the show. Brother Dawood, final remarks.
Well, I think, first of all, I must commend this effort conducted by the Muslim Street. I think it is very relevant and timely that support for Palestine is increased, accelerated at the highest level. And so the discourse, the discussions on Palestine and decolonization of Palestine should be intensified. I think that there are opportunities in the United States as well as in the global South. And in my view, it is important that we coordinate, and reach out to brothers, to activists, to institutions in Latin America, in Africa, and Asia. And I'm sure with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that our efforts will bear fruit in the years to come.
All right. I want to thank you. I want to thank Lance Scurv of Ghana and the Lance Scurv Show producing Muslim Street. I want to thank Art Mobley, founding member of the National Association of Black Journalists, Sheikh Mohammed Sharif, who is the CEO of Sankor Institute. And of course, you heard from Dawood Abdullah. Make sure you get his book, Islam, Race, and Rebellion in America. And for our host here in Chicago on site, next time we'll get a little better. We work through the audience. We got some great questions. We got some good Middle Eastern food over there that we're going to take part in. Here again, I am Malik Aziz for Brother Abdul Rahman at the Naha Institute.
I want to thank Al Nahda Institute for the Al Nahda Center here in the Chicago area for hosting us, and for all the audience that come out and participating. The Muslim Street is on YouTube every Sunday. Please subscribe to the Muslim Street channel.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say to that is this historic meeting that we've had here today with the Palestinian community, this hasn't happened literally in about 25 years, right? Where we see militant voices for the Black liberation struggle coming together with the Palestinian liberation movement. We will build on this. We will win. Keep the struggle alive. Stay positive. Stay progressive.
Ameen. 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 Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.